Hello and welcome to episode 164 of Checkpoint Chat. Wow, I nearly just skipped out a whole 10 there. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined by Matthew Figuera.
I just realized that there's a border around your head in the video feed. Wait, there we go. Is that better?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually didn't even realize that until now.
Well, there we go. Yeah, best intro ever.
Production. Yeah, it's how's the week been?
Yo, it's been a week. Glad it's Friday. It's one of those, we're Saturday, in that period where, I know, but we're in that end of the year downward trajectory or upward trajectory to Christmas where things are just manic, it seems. And it's...
do you guys get like real crazy just before like Black Friday? Is there like lots of campaigns for Black Friday that you need to get
through? I mean, not necessarily us doing an actual Black Friday campaign, but we, for the last 3 years now, have done all the Black Friday sales collateral. So all the social posts, a bunch of web stuff for a bunch of markets at Xbox, and it takes us weeks to get that right. It's like we put together not necessarily a proposal, but like we put together a presentation saying this is what the sale will entail, what assets will go out, and then that gets sent off to Xbox and they come back saying X, Y, Z, and we go back and forth for many weeks nailing that down. So it's always a bit of a headache, but yeah, we don't do actual, not us anyway, we don't do the fun campaign this time of year.
That's some other ad agency's nightmare to deal with, I guess.
Yeah. Xbox has a bunch. We just a little baby South African agency that helps out with bits and pieces on the biggest stuff.
I think Black Friday has infected like every industry. Like, my new employer, they sell a like software for accountants, to like visualize financial data. And we are like prepping a big like Black Friday push. And I'm like, what? Like, people are going to look at this software as a Black Friday deal? Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
But isn't it weird that you and I both this week, the moment we hit October properly, it's like, Black Friday. It's end of next month, but you got to prep for these things. So
there's so much prep work, and it's now like a bit of like a crunch period just to get everything done. Which is a bit of a hectic thing when you're just starting at a place, trying to get up to speed, and it's like everything, like you said, is just a bit manic. So it's been an interesting week.
But you started a new job last week now. Well, last Friday.
It's been a week now, because I started on a Friday, which is actually beautiful.
So when you say it's been a week, you're not saying like, man, it's been hectic. It's like, no, it's literally been a week.
It's
been a week at this new job.
A bit of both. It's been a week and a week. At this job, but I'm enjoying it. It's kind of nice to. I never thought I'd say this, but it's kind of nice to be back in the office, just like chatting to people every day and just getting a bit of like more social exposure. I think it helps that the company's small, so it's not like overwhelming. But yeah, just getting a bit of like human interaction, or not getting some, just like different, and having a change of space, I think is the best. The best thing is like having a defined, this is workspace, this is home space. Mentally is really, really good. Yeah.
What's interesting is that, my company's not alone in this, but I think a lot of companies are now going, people are getting vaccinated. We can sort of start making our way back to the office. But do people want to come back to the office? Because this remote work thing does have benefits. You've got lower overheads. People don't have to drive in or travel, X, Y, Z, lots of benefits. So my company sent out a survey this week gauging I presume just asking to try plan forward, and that questions like, has working from home, working remotely worked for you? What have been the pros and cons? What would you like to do moving forward? So I'm quite curious to see. I mean, from my side, I wouldn't mind a hybrid. Like I don't mind going to the office, but I like to have the option to not go to the office.
Yeah.
So I'm quite curious to see how the rest of the company answered and what the plan is moving forward.
I definitely think a hybrid approach is the way to go. But I can see the issues with that. Like, how does a company justify paying for a space that employees will just choose whether to use or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's kind of sad because just before COVID hit, we moved into a lovely big building. Like we were on one floor of another building when I started.
Do you recall, like you were helping out with the move?
Yeah, and then we moved into a building with 2 proper floors and a rooftop. It's like a massive building with 100 people.
The previous building had no roof. You just had sun constantly, and when it rained,
well, we didn't have our
just
own
roof.
It up. Facebook worked above us. They had the roof. Those people.
Facebook was above you.
Yeah.
Wait, that probably means. Oh, no, wait. The new building I'm going to is where Google is, not where Facebook is.
That's when you said, I was like, oh, we're in the same office. I was like,
that'd be insane. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think they've had to obviously, damn this camera. I don't know why it does that. They've obviously had to just keep paying rent on the building despite it not being used over the last 18 months or whatever. But I think it kind of will work if they do a hybrid system. They'll probably just pivot and use it as a, maybe do a redesign, and you won't have a permanent workspace. There'll just be a lot of hot desks and meeting rooms, which is fine. Like I love having my own desk at the office, but I'm not going to cry over. If I have a second screen and a PowerPoint, that's
you just have to bring your toys home, right?
I already did.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like the current workspace I'm in is too small for the number of people that have been employed by this company. That is just like exploding now. So it's like a few people are working from home just because it's like easier for them. But we are planning to move in the next month or so, and that's like a much bigger space, and I assume much more expensive. So I think that quote unquote hybrid approach is going to fall away. But I mean, when I was interviewed there, they told me that, they were forced to do the full remote thing, obviously, when government shut everything down, and it like seriously didn't work for the company. So, I guess it depends on the type of work being done.
We were fortunate that it kind of really works in our favor because the founders of Clockwork, despite both being like young in their 30s, were very adamant, to my knowledge years ago, of like, there's no such thing as remote work. We come to the office. It's not for any reason other than you collaborate better when you're with people, in the same room. But again, the whole forced remote work thing kind of let us prove that we can still work just as well remotely. Like last year, my team, we pulled off the biggest campaign we've ever done for Xbox from our side.
Did it all remotely.
And we did it like we literally were in the sort of early stages about a month before COVID hit. And then the rest of it we did over the course of the year, like up until September, October. That's how long it took to put this campaign together. And that was all remotely. So, and that works, winning some awards now. So it's like, yeah, we can do remote. Like we did it. So don't force us back into the office. Like a hybrid system is cool.
I think most people, I still met some people who are under the impression that if you work from home, you don't do work, which I find like ludicrous. Like you do not need to see people working to make sure that they're working. Yeah. So, but I do understand for some workflows, it is definitely easier. And, I enjoyed working from home, but there were certainly moments, many times, every day at least, where I was like, if I was sitting with the person I'm talking to on Teams right now, this would be a lot easier to solve. So yeah, I get the benefit. But also, this new office is going to have a fucking barista, so like I'm down to just have good
ours
coffee.
Was also meant to. So I don't know. I know what's happening with that.
Yeah, I am enjoying the the endless supply of coffee at the office, but I'm not enjoying the temptation of snacks every time I walk into this kitchen and there's just food, and I'm like,
yep. That's, I must say, the one thing I miss from the office the most is every morning and every afternoon, like my team and I we'd have our stand up, and then we always go get a coffee and like make toast or something. And that's just like a 10 minutes, ceremony.
It's a good tradition thing, yeah.
Yeah. And then every afternoon at like 3 or 4, we're like, let's just have a break, and we go get coffee, and it's again just a 5-10 minute thing, speak some shit and get back to work. And I really miss that. Yeah.
Yesterday the boss brought in chocolate croissants from Forno's Bakery.
Yep. Every Friday we have like breakfast somethings. I think once a month there's a guy at our office who, I don't know if he does catering or if he's got previous experience in catering, but he puts together like a breakfast spread of oats that he makes himself. Muesli that he like toasts and makes himself. Yogurt and a whole lot of stuff, and it's just delicious.
Homemade muesli.
It's like, it's life changing.
That sounds like a good time. My goodness. I love muesli. I think it's real good, but it's, again, like, oh God, growing up is realizing that everything you eat is just bad for you, and it's just like, why can't I just live my life?
Just have my muesli. It's fine.
Fuck off, energy. Just let me be.
Yeah.
Anyway,
whatever.
Things that do let us be, though, video games.
Wow.
What a segue. Nailed it.
Things that don't make us put on weight, video games.
Well, debatable. I will say for a fact that when Death Stranding came out and the advertising of Monster Energy was very prominent, I drank a lot of Monster Energy and put on weight. So,
oh no,
checkmate to your logic.
Shit.
But yeah, video games. We play them. We hope you do too. I actually just remembered something else I played this week, but very briefly. So let me just start with that.
Nice.
I dived back into Tetris Effect this week.
Oh my God. 10 out of 10
mostly
game.
because a friend of mine at work was asking. He's fun. He's very much in the Game Pass audience, which is great because I've always wondered how people outside of the, who don't follow gaming news, as a thing.
How do they consume games? And
how Game Pass is perceived. So the first thing is he calls it the Game Pass, which I find actually quite apt.
But does he go home and pray to a shrine like the Game Pass?
So he was asking if I'd played like Superliminal, and he was like, oh, it's on Game Pass. And then he was like, do you play Tetris Effect? I was like, yeah, I love Tetris Effect. He's like, oh, it's on Game Pass. I'm like, oh, right, yeah, they added that. And then he was like, have you played the co-op? And I was like, no, I actually haven't. I remember they added that. So he's like, okay, we'll play tonight. That co-op is unbelievable. So there's various multiplayer modes. There's like versus and stuff like that. But the main one that we played, and the one that I guess gave the current version of the game its name, is called Connected. So what it is a 3 versus 1 co-op mode where it's like 3 players versus a AI. And each AI you face is like a specific boss character. And each boss has its own powers. So you go through 2 phases, attack and defense. So when you're playing in defense, each player has their own board and you're just trying to survive, essentially. Yeah. And the more lines you clear, the faster you get out of the defense phase. But during this phase, the boss is also playing on its own board and can, when it clears lines, can firstly send garbage your way and then also activate like certain powers specific to the boss. So, for example, one of them was like it made the pieces bigger. So a square is usually 4 blocks. Now it's 8. Or a line is like 8 lines long. There was one power where it duplicates the pieces. So imagine you've got a T piece. Now you've got 2 T pieces together. And when you rotate it, they rotate in step with each other, so it's much harder to place.
Mm.
There's things where it will be like it will rotate your current board. So if you're building a good well, suddenly it will like pick 3 rows out of that structure you've built and just rotate them like four spaces to the right. So your board's completely fucked. So stuff like that. And then when you go into attack phase, holy shit, then it turns into almost like Lumines. So what happens is it takes all 3 players' boards and combines them into one, and you take turns placing pieces. But you can now place pieces across the span of the entire board. And also in this mode, it goes into the Tetris Effect zone mode. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No.
So when you're in zone, essentially any line that you complete gets placed at the bottom of the board. So you're not incentivized to go for Tetrises, which is like 4 line clears. You're just incentivized to clear as much as you can, because as soon as you clear, your board is cleared. So when you're playing in this co-op mode and taking turns, you're just frantically trying to work together to clear as many lines as possible, because then the number of lines that you clear when it shifts back into the next phase is all sent to the boss, and that's how you kill him. You're trying to like get him to fail. But that mode where it combines everything is just fucking crazy, because it's like you have to think outside of just your small lane. You've like suddenly got this really wide board to think about. And then sometimes pieces are color coded purple. So what that will mean is they will drop. So if I put a square down and there's a gap next to the one half of the square, those pieces will break off the square and drop down, as opposed to normally they're just static and then you fucked yourself. So there's a lot to think about, and it's like the first round or two is a bit taxing to try and like collect all these rules in your head. But boy, when you get into the flow, it's
actual drugs?
It's crazy fun. Like we played for an hour and I was like, holy shit, Tetris has got me again. It's so good. So
it's a game that keeps on giving, even decades later.
It really is. Like, and now that it's on Game Pass on PC and Xbox, so like, I mean, if you have never played Tetris Effect,
I need to play it. I never
oh my god, its single player is so good, like unbelievably good. This is the game that got me into Tetris. I was never really into Tetris before Tetris Effect, and then I kind of just wanted to see what it was about, and Tetris Effect is like, I think, the best form, because you can play it at your own pace. You can play it like really competitively, and then it's just got like really good visuals and really good music. So
I must give it a bash. It's also on Switch now, is it not?
Yeah, I
I
saw
think
it yesterday and I was like,
we mentioned though, like Tetris is a basic game in terms of how it works, but I think Tetris Effect, you've said, it's got some pretty wild physics and effects happening. Not physics, sorry, effects happening. So I don't know how it'll work on Switch, but I mean, Tetris Effect on the go.
I'm curious, because it really is like visually intensive when you get into it. So I think a lot of that will be pared back, but then you've also got Tetris on a mobile platform, and I think that is fucking cool.
And you hold your Switch vertically.
Oh god,
we presume.
Yeah, that's another thing, because the Switch, from a mobile standpoint, is quite, 16:9 doesn't give you a lot of vertical space. So either your board's just going to be really small, or you won't see I don't know. That game in VR as well is
actual
is a transcendent experience. Yeah, it is. It's something real. So yeah, I really
played some
really
Tetris
enjoyed it.
Effect.
Yeah, and then additionally, I finished off Outer Wilds.
Nice.
It's not DLC. It's a fucking full-blown expansion.
A game.
It's a sequel.
Sure.
Because this thing has taken me 15 hours to finish. So it is long. Like, I was not expecting that. So yeah, Echoes of the Eye is the expansion for Outer Wilds. I think I spoke about this a bit last week.
You touched on it, yeah. You basically gave I guess an overview of, it's different to the main game, there's different mechanics.
Yeah, a lot of that hasn't, finishing it hasn't really changed a lot of that. I think all it did was expand on many of the mechanics that I spoke about last week. And again, I don't want to get into like details of the mechanics
spoilers,
because I think the game, like any sort of mention of new mechanics is a spoiler in itself. And the game is new enough that I don't, I think maybe when you're done with it, we can do another deep dive into it. I will say that I enjoyed it. I definitely appreciated how the game didn't depend on knowledge that you would have acquired from the main game. So you can definitely jump into this first. Although I do feel that it expects a certain way of thinking from you that you would have only, I think, gotten from the main game.
Yeah.
Not in terms of like tricks that you need to learn to finish the main game, just in sort of like understanding its language and how the game operates, when you get stuck, what you're kind of expected to do to figure that out.
Yeah.
There are parts that I don't like. They've added a single mechanic and certain sections to the game that I think just don't fit. They come nearish like the end, and you have to like put up with them. There's no way around them. And I think the thing that happens is it makes the time loop feel tedious for the first time. So I never felt like the time loop in the main game or in most of this expansion was tedious at all. I thought it all was perfectly balanced in service of your discoveries. But yeah, this specific part, I know I'm trying to be vague because if I say what it is, it gives away a huge portion of this game. I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't like it that much. It was not my favorite part of the game. But the eventual like sort of like pin drop, like I get what I need to do to finish this was like super satisfying.
Yeah,
and also a complete subversive. It was completely different to what I thought I needed to do. Which was like super surprising. I was like, it's because at one point I was meant to be gathering certain pieces of information, and every time I found the pieces of information, they were, let's say, damaged, or I couldn't do anything with them. And I was like, what the fuck? Am I missing something? Like, am I not getting to places at the right time, or am I getting to them at the wrong time, whatever? And then I realized, like, it completely flipped things on its head, like to a way where it contextualized what I needed to do there, actually. So very smart, very like incredibly smart game. I think what is cool as well is that it doesn't interfere with the story of the main game at all. It just adds to it.
That's cool.
So this expansion doesn't try and say, oh, that thing you thought about the story in the main game, that's actually wrong. It's just like, this was a thing that existed in the universe and you just never realized it beforehand. But it doesn't fundamentally change the message or the conclusion of Outer Wilds. It just adds onto it.
Nice.
If that makes sense. So yeah, really good. It's kind of a bit sad that you don't bounce between planets in this one. It's all localized to one area. But that area itself has specific like sub areas that feel like their own
biomes,
like little puzzles. So and also the music is just sublime. Like it's different, but it's so good. Like a lot of the beginning of the game you will be spending on a raft on water and traveling, and the music that accompanies that is just incredible, like really good. Every time I'm on the water and just like river rafting, I'm just like jammed to the music.
And then Mimir starts telling you a story like, whoa,
where did you come from? And Atreus is there just like sulking in the corner. I'm just like, oh, hi.
Oh, okay. I'm very keen for this expansion. I just need to, I mean, you messaged me a few times over the last week or two saying, like either, oh my God, I just figured out what to do, or I'm not quite sure.
I got stuck a few times.
Yeah,
like,
I'm very keen. I don't know, having played Outer Wilds now, I understand how this sort of game works. It's one of those things where you putting together breadcrumbs to figure out how to proceed. So I'm almost wondering if I start, hitting the same point job, I'm like, oh my God, what am I meant to do? Do I just put the game aside and think about it, come back after a day or two, try for an hour or two? I'm trying to decide how to actually play it, but I guess I'll only really know when I get down to it. Maybe I'll pull an Outer Wilds like I did the first time and just play for like 20 hours solid.
Well,
in the space of a week.
I played like a bit every night. So if I got stuck, I would like, have a day to like kind of ponder things. And when I got back to it, I was like, okay, let me try this actually.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, the game is so, I don't understand how they design this, but the game is so intelligent in giving you enough information that you come up with an outlandish idea of like, maybe I'm meant to do this. And then when you do it, that's exactly what the game wants you to do.
Yeah.
And you just feel like you're like, oh my God, I'm a fucking genius. Like I took this small breadcrumb and I put it together. Yeah. Like,
I mean, we've spoken about this at length in our spoiler episode, everything, but the number of times I was audibly like, oh my God, I can't believe this is what I have to do. I had so many of those in Outer Wilds, and I sincerely hope I get many more of those.
It's very good.
In this expansion / DLC / standalone game.
I will just mention that there's something that isn't explicitly like messaged in the game itself, and I wonder if they might change it because like they mentioned it in the reviewer's guide. They're like, once you finish the DLC, go back and do the loop of the main game, like get to the ending of the main game again, because there's some additions there now based on if you finish the DLC or not. And like the game makes no real messaging of that. The DLC has a very finite, like you are done type of thing. So I would just advise anyone who's played and who hasn't maybe done that to do that. It's sort of like the God of War thing. Like the game never tells you to go back to your house in God of War, but there's like a very big story moment that happens when you do.
Yeah, so, which teases, the next sequel. Game. So,
yeah, so
I completely hear you, but I do think knowing the Outer Wilds fan base, many of them probably like if you haven't played the game for a year or two, I have to believe that you would play the expansion and go back just out of curiosity, like, I wonder if I remember how to do the main loop.
Just like me, who like completely forgot.
Yeah, my goodness. But I'm glad I played this game recently because coming back like you after so long, I would have forgotten so much.
No, I'm glad I replayed it recently because it helped me get my head into that space again. So yeah, game's good, and like I said, it feels like a full-blown expansion because it took me 15 hours to finish, and obviously your mileage may vary. That really depends on how you pick up on the game's puzzles, but this expansion alone took me an hour to figure out how to start because the start of it is a puzzle in itself. So
nice.
Yeah, actually very cleverly now looking back at the trailers actually don't give much away outside of giving you hints on how to start the DLC. It's very smart. Like every spoiler in the trailer is only a spoiler for the game's very first puzzle and nothing else. Like
amazing.
It's
how it
genius.
Should be.
Yeah,
nice.
It's pretty genius. So yeah,
cool. That's Outer Wilds.
Yeah, what have you been up to?
So let me just get a little timestamp here. Get some footage rolling. So last week we spoke about Far Cry 6 at length. I mean, we did we didn't speak about it on the main episode. If you missed it, earlier this week we uploaded a YouTube video with our
uploaded a video on the YouTube.
Uploaded video on YouTube with our impressions on. Well, it was basically a review in progress because I'd played a lot of the game, but I hadn't finished the game yet. So if you want like an in-depth dive into it, go check it out on YouTube. It's a little 36-minute segment. But otherwise, I finally rolled credits on Far Cry 6, and I can say that, having never played a Far Cry before, but knowing how the Far Cry franchise is, it is, for all intents and purposes, a Far Cry. It's the same same formula. But I enjoyed it because I'm new to the franchise. I missed Far Cry 4 and 5 and all the in between stuff. And yeah, I had a great time. I think I spent my PlayStation profile time is wrong. It says I played this game for 10 hours. I'm like, there's no way. It's like it must be about 20 to 25 hours that I spent playing the game. So
you did get through it at a much faster pace than I thought you would. But I guess at some point you were just mainlining a lot of the things because like there's like 3 massive islands that make up, or 4 massive islands that make up this game. So
yeah, it's exactly that. It was a thing of like every now and then I'd maybe just detour to tick off a box or do a thing that I was just like, well, that's fun to do. But sure, for all intents and purposes, just to try and make it to the end of the game in a speedy manner, I did mainline. And I mean, even the fact that it took me 20 to 25 hours, like doing that, there's a lot of game here.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, if you had to tick off everything on the map, I'd have to guess you're looking at maybe like 40, 35, 40, maybe give or take a few.
Getting into the region of the Assassin's Creed games.
Maybe longer. I mean, there's a lot to do. But I mean, even when you finish the game, there's actually post-game content where, I mean, there is going to be DLC, we know this, but there is existing post-game content where every week, one part of the island gets taken back and there's sort of, some submissions to, take back over it.
It's almost like a living game.
I just have to point you to the footage now. I got attacked by birds.
Crows, I can see, yeah.
I was climbing this tall, which actually gave me a fright because I was not expecting.
And you're just like trying to look at it, this beautiful
I'm
view.
just like trying to figure out how to scale this thing without falling off. And
this game is like golden out. Wow, you took out a minigun to kill these birds.
It didn't work.
That is ridiculous, Matthew. My goodness.
Oh,
but this game is like, what if like all the time in the world was just dusk and dawn, because that's how our game looks the best. I feel like this game is in a persistent state of golden hour. And it looks beautiful for it.
It's so funny because I took a screenshot at, sunset of using the game's operational but not great photo mode. And I put it on Reddit and I was like, because I've seen in some reviews people saying like, reviews and on Twitter people saying like, oh, this game doesn't look good. And I was kind of taken aback because I started up and I was actually taken aback by how good it does look. But, to your point, it only really looks that good when it is the golden hour, the sun's peeking through the trees, everything. So I put it on Reddit and it got a lot of attention and there's no middle ground. People are either like, yeah, this game is the best looking Far Cry game or the best looking game on my PC, or people saying like, no, it's disastrous. Like Ubisoft should be ashamed. But looking at it now, it is a thing of people acknowledge like the game looks as good as a Far Cry 5 or 4. Like the engine hasn't changed, but some of the textures they've pointed out like don't look great. And I do wonder if it is a thing of when we installed the game, we had to have the HD texture pack downloaded. So I'm like, have they missed that? Because like
apparently it's fucked up on PC. So
yeah, some people just don't know that. So they're having this experience going, my God, like these textures are low res, and it's like, I don't know. Looking at my footage, I'm like, it's really pretty.
Is your footage like all jittery on your side, or is it just maybe the streaming through Discord? Because it might
just be the streaming on Discord. Because on my side it seems fine.
Butter smooth. Okay, yeah, that's another thing. It is. I mean, I haven't seen a Digital Foundry breakdown of it, but this game seems to run at 60 like really solidly on PS5. Like I didn't see any settings for fidelity or performance. It just kind of like defaults.
It just defaults, yeah.
Which I think is great because I mean shooters benefit from additional fluidity. So I mean, when we got code for PS5, I was like, okay, it's going to be a 30 because like Far Cry 5 was 30. So yeah, I was actually quite surprised that it feels as good as it does and looks as good as it does. It still looks like a Far Cry. It's still built on the same technology. So that means like, especially character models don't seem that impressive. But it's also a it's a cross generational
Exactly.
game.
It's available
Yeah,
on.
and I think it looks great on the new consoles.
Yeah.
Just visual variety. It looks real nice.
Exactly. But there's something weird. Like they intentionally, as far as I
Guess
know,
what headshots you get off here. Amazing.
the cinematics in this game, I suppose for cinematic effects are locked to 30 frames per second, which is why you and I,
They're
when we
not
started,
they're not like they pre-rendered. Yeah,
but
they're
it
not.
doesn't do the game any favors because
No,
the
doesn't.
cinematics look worse than the actual game, and it's like it's kind of meant to be the other way around. The cinematics
they're
are
not
meant to be
great.
like, oh, this is pre-rendered. Of course, this isn't in engine, whatever. But it doesn't look great, which
No.
I don't know. It's a weird choice.
I do like though that there are cutscenes because like
oh yeah, 100%.
I mean you coming from a background where you haven't played many Far Cries, the big addition here that I quite like is an actual character as a protagonist. Far Cry 3 had its rich jock boy, what was his name? Jason something?
Jason.
He was just fucking awful, just like an awful protagonist. And then like 4 and 5 went the sort of like silent protagonist route. I can't actually say for certain now if they didn't say anything at all, but they weren't characters. They were more just caricatures for you to project onto.
Yeah.
But like Far Cry 6 has Danny Rojas, and he or she, depending on your choice, is a character that you see in third person who has their own characterization. And I think that to me is the strongest addition in this game when comparing it to older entries.
Yeah. And I really liked Danny.
Yes,
I
same.
thought the character was very likable, had some great moments. And I think
Danny's a far better character than the actual villain of the game, in my view. And villains are where Far Cry has usually been very strong. So
yeah, but it's also interesting that Anton Castillo is played by Giancarlo Esposito, who's if you don't know who that is, it's the Chicken Man from Breaking Bad, which I think is just probably his most recognizable role. And we did mention in our review in progress that he plays the villains very well, because it is this thing of he comes across as very like subdued, but the way he conveys things, you like, oh god, like don't mess with this guy. Like, and he does exactly that in this game, where he's El Presidente trying to make Yara a better place, but doing it in a not so ethical way, if I could put it that way.
I think he does pretty well with the material he's given. Like he's got that foreboding, scary nature. I just think his character is not that interesting.
It's very much, for all intents and purposes, a paint by numbers dictator. They aren't having rolled credits now. There aren't moments in the game, to my knowledge, that made me go like, damn, this villain's like really, head and shoulders above whoever else. But yeah, like you said, given his material, I think he does the performance very well.
Yeah. He's doing the Giancarlo Esposito voice and the foreboding, not foreboding, just like unnerving like speech. And, in Breaking Bad, that was his whole thing. His character in Breaking Bad was obviously a lot more complex and layered. I think Castillo is just like you said, he is a dictator and kills people, and people hate him, and he tries to convince himself that he's right. It's like you've seen this sort of character in so many forms of media before. There's nothing surprising or interesting about him. So, and they try and get you to, they try and build this tension of like, oh, his son is the one who like is kind of rejecting his father's ideals, and even that is just like fairly boring, I find. As well. So
so I mean, on that, like coming into the game, or into the franchise fresh, like just to repeat, I really enjoyed it. But it just made me realize that there are going to be, I think, 3 distinct audiences in this game, and that'll probably determine whether you enjoy the game or not. So I think it goes without saying, if you like Far Cry, you've loved 3, 4, and 5, you love the formula, the whole thing of ticking off objectives on a huge open map, I don't see you not liking this game, because it really is more of that, just in a different setting, I guess, a more tropical Cuban inspired setting.
Yeah, it's definitely fake Cuba.
Yeah,
like,
it's
it's
fake
not
Cuba.
even trying to not be that. Yeah.
So if if you like Far Cry and you want to run around a fake Cuba, you're definitely going to like this. If you are expecting an evolution of the Far Cry formula, you're probably going to be disappointed because it doesn't change what came before. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no standout like, wow, I can't believe they've done this differently or anything like that.
I think maybe more accurate would be like the things that they do try and change feel very inconsequential.
Okay, yeah.
Like, like you just looking now, you've got this thing on your back called a Supremo, which for all intents and purposes is like an alter like in a game. You've also got far more granular gun customization, and then obviously the gear system, which is like gear has numbers and points attached, which are meant to prevent you or empower you to take on certain regions. But I mean, they don't really factor. They to me they come off as more of an annoyance than anything else.
Yeah, it doesn't. There's no. I completely. There's no. It's a gear system, but it doesn't work in the same way that, say, like, sorry for the blunt comparison. It's not like a Diablo where you play the game, you get a better, chest piece, whatever. It's that gives you more armor. It's more a thing of you equip this chest piece because it lets you reload faster or something.
Yeah.
It's very like, the inconsequential is just the right way to put it, I guess. It's not like a game changing thing. You're not going to pick up loot to go like, wow, I can't believe I got a rare golden chest piece that lets me, reload twice as fast and do this.
I mean, you would know because you've played more, but I assume you stuck to a specific loadout for long stretches of time.
Yeah. That rifle you saw me using earlier, that's a rifle I had from the very beginning of the game. I just customized it how I liked it.
Because you can headshot people and people die. So it's like, what's I'm kind of glad that they didn't go full like Division on this, because the Division is very much a Diablo like in that sense, where it's like if you don't have the best gear, you will not do damage. But at the same time, then I don't understand why the system exists at all. Like they try and emphasize at the start, like, oh, you need to scout your enemies, and some are weak to soft shell rounds and some need armor piercing rounds, and it's like, no, you can just kind of shoot them in the head and they're okay, So I get that was an attempt to try and spice things up, but like because of how little you actually interact with that system, it just feels like it doesn't even exist. So yeah.
But overall, I did enjoy the game. So yeah,
I'm having a good time with it too. I'm enjoying it far more than 5. I thought 5 was a real bad Far Cry. And I was already like kind of like over the formula there, and I'm not like suddenly changed on it. I think the formula needs to evolve, but at least this is a fun sandbox with a fun protagonist. It feels like a first person Just Cause in so many ways. Like it is all about mayhem and stuff like that. So.
I even reckon you could throw in a bit of, it feels a little bit like GTA in some instances.
It is totally self-aware that it is a playful destruction sandbox. I mean, even your protagonist's friend, the gorilla, I forget his name now. Juan. Like, he's like, I know you just came back here just because you like to blow shit up. And Danny's like, yeah. So it's like the game it knows that its strength is like giving you that power fantasy, and it doesn't want to be anything more than that. And that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're in for that, I think Far Cry 6 fits the bill.
Yeah. It's good fun. Pick it up on a sale if you're unsure, but it is good fun. Can confirm.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, last note, the horses control like ass. Oh my god.
We
spoke about this in the
arcade
review.
horse racing.
I hate it. It feels so wrong. I can't pinpoint. Actually, you pinpointed it. You like they control like cars, and that's correct. They don't handle like real horses. It's a complete break in my brain. So yeah, I don't like them.
There's no accelerating. It's like full pace brake. Turning is like instant. So,
but it's kind of annoying because like traveling on the horseback is kind of cool. Like it seems like a cool way to get around the island, but boy, it just feels bad. I just don't like it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Far Cry 6. So very, very quickly, I'll touch on 2 other things I played this week. The first being this past weekend, there was the Battlefield 2042 open beta. You had earlier access if you pre-order the games you've probably been playing, or those people played from early last week. Yeah, I'm curious to see what Battlefield feels like and plays like now, because the last 2 Battlefields have been, World War One and World War Two inspired. And, I enjoyed the single player campaign of the World War One, which was Battlefield 1. Which
you're getting yourself
weirdly
all twisted up.
Yeah, Battlefield 1 set in World War 1. Then they jump back to Battlefield 5 set in World War 2. It's
Battlefield
very
1 was the
confusing.
one with the vignettes, right?
Yeah, and I think Battlefield 5 also has vignettes, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they're far more like scaled back, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
But yeah, so I missed, those old school World War shooters. I'm more of I love Battlefield, but I've played more of Battlefield 3 and 4, which is, modern day shooters. And Battlefield 2042 is, in the not too distant future. So it's, it draws comparisons to Battlefield 3 and 4 because it looks very similar. It's this modern day / futuristic shooter. Yeah, I just jumped in to see what it looked like because I put a ton of time into multiplayer back in the day. And the beta's very rough around the edges is all I'll say. I loaded into a game basically into the bottom of the map, unable to do anything, had to load back in. And then even when I was in, there were, I mean, this is my experience. I have seen people saying like the beta's fine, they're having a good time. But I've seen people ragdolling.
I love to ragdoll
around the map.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was telling you before we started recording that I've got a relatively powerful PC. I've got 32 gigs of RAM. I've got a 2070 RTX Super, a 9th gen i7. It's like, this shouldn't make my PC cry, but it just didn't feel buttery smooth despite me putting settings down. Even I load things, I locked it to 60 frames per second medium settings, and it just doesn't feel good to me. But I'm assuming that's maybe an optimization thing that will be smoothed out either on launch or in the months to come. But having stuck it out a little bit, I did have moments where I'm like, oh, this is Battlefield. Like, I love Battlefield. There's no other game on the market. I can't say that it's a very sweeping statement, but there are very few other games in the market that give you that proper sense of like, I'm just on a huge battlefield where there's just so much going on and it's just chaos. Like, there's jets flying in the sky, there are tanks fighting each other nearby, there's just gunfire everywhere.
Yeah, there's stuff happening all the time.
Yeah, the scale of that, like, very few games get that right. And yeah, I could see myself enjoying this game if, on launch it's, polished and not so rough around the edges.
Especially since it's only multiplayer. There's no single player component at all. So like, in a world where we've got Halo Infinite giving out its multiplayer for free, we've got Call of Duty Warzone for free, Fortnite for free, you've got Battlefield coming in, like, our multiplayer is $70. So as soon as you're going to do that, that should better be polished. Like, it better be on a level where you can be like, I feel justified in paying for this, where other games are making it a free service. So I think they've got an uphill battle in that regard. So yeah, I'm curious to see that play out.
Yeah. I'm keen to see how it plays out as well, because I love Battlefield. Like, it's one of those games where I can't say but I'm not the Call of Duty version of a Battlefield fan. Like, I do dip in now and then, but I do love my time with the game. So I sincerely hope it pans out.
I touched on it for, like, I played one match maybe. And I mean, I've said many times, I'm not like you. I'm not a huge Battlefield guy. And it's like, yeah, it feels like Battlefield. So that's cool. I normally just load it up just because I want to see how it looks, because it's usually a visual showcase. I didn't find it that visually, like, striking, which I found odd. Because playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 or Battlefield 5, I loaded up. I'm like, damn, this is a good looking game, you know. This one was just like, oh, okay, you know, it looks like Frostbite, yeah. But it felt good. And the destruction, like you said, you basically playing these like small proxy wars. So you're with your squad and you are focusing on your squad, not really like where other people are on the map, while you kind of like work together towards an objective. So that's cool. I'd probably, if it was free, I would dip in with you here and there, but I'm not going to spend $70 on.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you squad up, the game is a different experience. It's a lot of fun playing with friends and like just working together to do shit. Like then you all pick a class, and it is a thing of we're going to survive. Like we've got a medic, we're going to spawn on each other and do shit together.
Yeah, so I definitely feel like I haven't had that experience with Battlefield because I've never given it the chance with the squads. So I can see why that would be good. So yeah, I'm hoping this is good because it feels like to me Battlefield 5 just kind of like did not deliver for long-time Battlefield fans. So yeah.
And then other than that, I've been playing. Oh my god, what did I do in the sheet here? I lost my timestamp. Damn it.
Enjoy your editing.
Oh my god, no, it's fine. I've got it. We got a review code for a little Nintendo game I've been very excited for. Metroid
Ball
Dread.
Simulator 2021.
Oh my god. So yeah, I dipped into that for about an hour last night. So I haven't really had time to, really sink my teeth into it. But what I can say thus far is that it runs beautifully. It's always amazing how the Switch is this, for all intents and purposes, this underpowered console compared to, any modern day PC or the PS5 and Xbox, and even Xbox One and PS4. And, I'm not talking, Metroid's not this uncanny valley, like, wow, so realistic. I can't tell the difference, whatever. But just its style and the fluidity of its animations, you're like, damn, this is running on my handhold. This is really, really cool. So on that front, I'm really like, damn, I want to see what this looks like on the OLED now, because that screen makes those colors really pop.
and also just the sort of like darkness and negative space will actually like feel really dark. Yeah. So
but yeah, in terms of the actual game, again, still early days, but it's a, sorry for the expression, it's a Metroidvania. it's one half of the, the Metroidvania genre. So I'm just exploring a part of the map, seeing things that I cannot access yet, and then, doing something, maybe whether it be fighting a mini boss or stumbling into a room and getting a upgrade, which then lets me dig a little deeper into the map. And yeah, like it's that genre of games. So I know that I'm going to proceed through it and then come back to unlock stuff as I get different abilities. And that's a satisfying loop. Like I love games like that. We've both played the likes of Hollow Knight and Ori, and those are very much built the same way, where you're dipping back and forth between areas because you're just getting different abilities. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've actually played a 2D Metroidvania, a Metroid game. I mean, the last, I think I said to you before we started recording, the last one I played might have been actual Super Metroid, like not on the SNES, but years later. But I've only really played 3D Metroid since then. So I'm quite keen to see how this game goes back to, the heyday of Metroid on the 2D front, because it's been a long time since we've had a really good 2D game. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm equally keen to jump. Unlike you, I've played a lot of Metroidvanias this year. I mean, I only played Ori and the Will of the Wisps this year, and I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night this year. So my brain is super tuned. It's ready for Metroid Dread. And like I was telling you before the show, I've never played a Metroid. So this will be my first one. And I'm, for all intents and purposes, reading reviews, it seems to be a very good one. Yeah. And a surprising one because it's been so long since Metroid has been given the correct treatment.
Exactly. And what this game does different to others in the series, I stand to be corrected, but there are these enemies called Emmys. I don't know if it's EMM.
They're like the awards you win if you're in a series.
The Emmy Awards. They hunt you down and they say, hey, great performance on that TV show. Like, No, but they certain areas of the map, from what I've played already thus far, they are these enemies that move about specific areas that you cannot kill.
So you can't even like damage them or anything.
No, well, yes,
where
and
you
no.
are now,
where I am now, yeah.
Okay.
So if they see you, you have to run, and that in itself has created some great moments of, oh God, I need to outrun this thing.
Curl up in a ball and roll.
Lest it catch me. There's also this really, sorry, I'm just going to pivot off that quickly. There's this really cool function or thing, which I don't know if it was a thing in previous Metroid games as well, but you have a counter. Yeah, which I didn't expect. You can actually counterattack enemies, which it's very satisfying because if you
in like a melee counter? Or?
Yeah, like a proper melee counter. So if they attack you and you melee counter, you basically knock them away and you can do an attack for extra damage. And it's really satisfying. I mean, I'm fighting very easy enemies at the moment, so it's like super easy to counter them. But it's just nice that exists. I didn't expect the game to have that
good feeling counters are like 90% of why I love games. So
this is why Bloodborne's so good. You pull off a counter like 1 in 100 times.
Great. Yeah, same with Sekiro. It's
great.
It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I'm keen to really sink my teeth into this game in the week to come.
I'm kind of a bit bummed that
damn it.
Metroid is it has many different games and some of them play off each other in terms of story, and Metroid Dread is a sequel to Metroid Fusion, which came out like years and years ago. So like playing this, I'll miss the context of that story.
So they do open with a cinematic, which I have to read up. I think it basically encapsulates the story of you said it's Metroid Fusion.
Fusion, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what the opening, because I mean I don't know, like I haven't played Metroid Fusion, but it explains like this, and in my head it's like, I wonder if that's what happened in Metroid Fusion. Now it's setting up for where this game starts, whatever. So I just need to read up on that, but I think it could be that.
Correct me if I'm mistaken, but Metroid Prime, because Metroid Prime 4 is currently being developed, but the Metroid Prime games are first person.
They're first person, yeah.
So I think I actually, when I bought the original Nintendo DS when it first came out, and on there was a demo for a Metroid that I didn't even know it was Metroid at the time. I was just like, oh, here's this cool first-person shooter where I can curl up into a ball. That's pretty cool. And it was a short demo of that. And I have no idea what game that is.
Was it Metroid Hunters?
Maybe.
Because that's a game I had on DS as well. It was actually like it's interesting. It had multiplayer. I could play that I played a bunch of that with my brother, if I'm not mistaken, if we're thinking of the same game.
Hunters. Okay, I see it's a DS game.
I'm sure
this looks like it. Yeah, this definitely, because it had the dual. It was weird because you had to use the touch screen to
aim.
And at the time with my infantile brain, I couldn't like wrap my head around
like,
only holding one side of the console. Yeah, it was definitely this. Okay. So it wasn't a Prime. I thought it was like Prime came out.
It is like a spin-off something.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. I'm still holding out hope that we will get
I'm sure
Metroid
we'll get
Prime
a remaster or collection or something.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be cool to play because I guess that's a whole different type of game in first person. So yeah.
That's the games we've been playing this week. Actually, a lot. I think that's 5 across the two of us.
Yeah, and it's not going to slow down.
It's not going to
slow down.
Nope. Shall we get to?
Let's bounce to game releases. Just opening my link. God bless VG 24/7 for their expansive list. So we are looking at games launching from today, 9th of October, until, let me just open up my good Windows 10, Windows 11 calendar, October 15th. Oh my goodness, okay. Okay.
Some stuff.
Quite a bit. There's one game here that I'm pretty sure is out already, but okay. Book of Travels, Steam Early Access, PC, October 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game that I'm pretty sure is out already, Back for Blood. I've seen people playing this, so...
I think there's early access.
Is it that bullshit again?
I could be wrong, but I think it's if you pre-ordered the game, whatever, you can play already.
Okay.
But yeah, I know it's coming out next Tuesday.
Yeah, October 12th,
yeah.
PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox. It's also on Game Pass, so I think it's only up on Game Pass then. Yeah. Then we've got the Rift Breaker, PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S. That's interesting. No last-gen consoles. What is this now? The Rift Breaker.
It's a next-gen game.
Oh, it looks like a mech. Oh, it's a base-building survival game with action RPG elements. You are an elite scientist / commando inside an advanced mecha suit capable of dimensional rift travel. This looks fucking cool.
I love
this looks like Diablo, but you're in a mech.
My God, I just love the complete opposite sides of the spectrums being combined into one character. It's like you're an elite scientist and marine.
A commander.
A commander.
This looks pretty
What's it called?
cool.
Rift? The Rift
Breaker. Yeah.
The
Rift Breaker.
The Rift Breaker.
Yeah, you've got base building, and then you've got what looks like a Diablo-like sort of gameplay. It looks real good. Like, holy shit. Okay, this is on my wish list now. Cool.
Good Lord.
Then,
you're right. Sorry, it does look like a Diablo.
Yeah, like a Diablo. Looks rad. Looks really cool.
That's cool.
Then we've got Dungeon Encounters, PC, PS4, and Switch, October 14th. Aeon Must Die, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, October 14th. The Good Life, which is, I think this is a sweary game. It's the one where you play as like a cat.
Meow.
Yeah. So that's been, man, I've heard of this game for like ages because it was like Kickstarter, then the Kickstarter failed, then it went up again on Kickstarter, then it succeeded, then it's been delayed, then yeah, but it's got a cat in it, so yeah. PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, October 15th. Oh my God, this name. Demon Slayer - Kimetsu no Yaiba / The Hinokami Chronicles.
/
Yeah. So, this is a game based on the popular anime Demon Slayer, which I've actually just finished watching the only season that's out. It's very good.
Nice.
Everyone who said it's a great anime, totally correct. Very, very good. So yeah, it's a game. Anime games usually are garbage. So yeah.
You never know. Have you played the game? You don't know.
That's out on October 15th. Then we've got NHL 2022, October 15th. That's the ice hockey? NHL? Yeah. Ice hockey?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So it's basically just like hits a puck and then you can press a button and turn it into one-on-one Tekken. That's my understanding of ice hockey is like you can just fight. And then the final game for this week, Crisis Remastered Trilogy. PC, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Switch, October 15th.
The Switch can run Crisis? Holy shit.
This is all three now. So they previously, did a remaster of the first one. Now they've got all three.
Amazing.
Crisis 3 is a good time. I enjoy Crisis 3.
Played Crisis 1 and 2. I don't know if I played the third one. Maybe I did.
2 at the time was like, I played 2 and I was like, damn, this game looks fucking insane. It's so good. But like, when you go back and play it, it's not a great game. Like, it just doesn't feel good.
I think that it was visually like, whoa.
Yeah, visually it was just like, holy shit, this is insane. So I'm kind of curious to see because they've added, like ray tracing and all of that. So I just want to load this up and it, kind of like melt my PC for a bit. Seems like a fun time.
Fact: the first Far Cry was the precursor to the Crysis franchise, which I don't think a lot of people know.
It's true.
Far Cry 1 was a PC killer when it launched back in the day. It was a thing of like, you need a power PC to play this. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. And it was also like an island shooter and then had aliens.
Yeah. It's a good time.
That's it for this week. So, yeah.
My goodness.
Should we then get to the news. Not
What
tons
do you want to headline with? What is the biggest news this week?
It's not the biggest news for me personally, but I felt like it was the biggest news of the week for sure. Sora is in Smash.
Wait, do I have that open? No, how do I not have this? Oh my god,
Nailed it.
I'm the worst. Okay, Sora's in Smash. That's
Sora is in Smash. Yeah, so Smash Brothers Ultimate final DLC character was revealed in what may or may not be Sakurai's last like direct for maybe ever. Let this man rest. He's been working on Smash Brothers since 1998. But apparently Sora, who's from obviously Kingdom Hearts, was one of the most requested characters back in the day when they put out like a questionnaire on who would want to be added to Smash from the community side. So yeah, Sakurai made a big deal of like it was hard getting Sora in, and I don't doubt that because like Disney and
you know what is funny
Square
is that when he said that I was like, but you've got Cloud and Sephiroth, you've got these Square Enix characters. Like, what is the big deal? I don't get the. Only later I was like, oh yeah, Sora's like technically a Disney property. Well, Kingdom Hearts is a Disney property. So it's like
straight up a Disney property. Yeah.
I get it now. Okay. That's why I had to jump through hoops to make this work. But yeah, look. The Kingdom Hearts is a game I'd probably love. But I have never played them, have no affinity to Sora or anything. I loved watching the reactions to this reveal. This is like this blue. There are two camps. People going like, "Oh my god, like Sora, what is that?" And people going, "Thank God, Sora! Like we've been asking for this for ever." So yeah, good for you, Kingdom Hearts fans. You got this. You got the final character.
There was so much fucking hype. Yeah, I'm with you there. Where it was just like seeing people's reaction to this, like people so deeply embedded in the Smash community, like it was kind of like really heartwarming to see. It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
As insufferable as that community can be at times. But yeah, Sora was in there and he's got costumes from a bunch of games, but unsurprisingly, there's like no other Disney characters. There's no like a Goofy and Donald who are often
I thought they'd make a cameo, but nah.
Can you imagine Disney is like, no, it's not happening. The weirdest part of this announcement was that they announced that all the Kingdom Heart like mainline games are coming to Switch, but all of them are cloud-based.
Cloud, yeah.
Like I thought, okay, maybe the third one, sure, but 1 and 2 are cloud-based too, and that makes no fucking sense to me.
Old games. They are both PS2 games.
Yeah. Genuinely makes no sense to me.
The Switch can run those.
Is Sora wearing Goofy's shoes? I just realized his shoes are so big.
I also noticed where on the reveal, I was like, why are his shoes so big? I mean, it's obviously done intentionally, but those are big-ass shoes.
Man bought a size 10 when he needed a size 5. Like, Jesus.
So he bought a size 15.
So obviously with the new character, there's new stages and Kingdom Hearts music as well. So people are fucking hyped about that. He's coming out October 18th, and he'll cost $6 as standalone, or he's part of the Fighters Pass Volume 2 if you've got that pack. And he's the last character.
What happens with Smash now? We know Smash is done, right? There's no more DLC, so they say. But now
I don't know.
What happens in 3 to 5 years when they want to make a new Smash game? Do they reboot? Because that's how Smash titles have worked in the past, right? Like you have a game on the GameCube and it's this cast of characters, then you release it on the Wii and it's got some of the same characters, but it doesn't keep all of them. I mean, Super Smash Ultimate was the one that we're collecting every single character from
everybody's here.
Everybody's here, which is great marketing. And then, supplementing it with 10 to 15 extra characters in the form of DLC. Now I'm like, I don't know, you kind of set yourself up that in the future, what do you do? What happens? Do they, I don't know, do they do a Mario Kart where on the next Switch, whatever it is, the next Nintendo console, they just say, hey, here's Super Smash Ultimate, whatever the hell, Super Smash Ultimate.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know. It's
I have
yeah.
no idea, honestly, what they do with Smash in general for me. Like, you know, Sakurai said before that he's kind of done now. I mean, he said this before Ultimate even started, but I think now is like, man is done with this franchise.
Mm. What a cool dude. I love the
Yeah, he
direct.
seems like a very cool dude. He does seem like he's been way overworked on the series. But at the same time, he's not the single person on this series. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
genuinely think that if there are people that want to continue Smash and there's enough, there's enough curiosity to kind of take it in a new direction, there are people on the team that could do that. Sakurai has said in the past that he's not leaving game development. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll go back to Kid Icarus because he developed Kid Icarus
Maybe
Uprising back in 2008.
you'll
So
pull a Koji Igarashi and instead of making a new Castlevania, just make a complete spin-off, which is exactly the same as Smash.
God no, I think this man is so done
He's
with
done,
fighting
yeah.
games. Like I can't imagine like you've worked on the same sort of franchise for 22 some
Decades.
years. You want to do
Yeah.
something creatively different. So yeah, I hope he gets the well-deserved rest, him and everyone else on the team, because yeah, Smash Ultimate has been a real undertaking. It's a crazy sort of product that Nintendo has put out and supported. So it's kind of
and
cool.
it's a huge, like, properties and characters aside, it's
Massive.
a huge
Absolutely massive.
juggling act with all the balancing. Can you imagine?
The balancing of this game is unbelievable. Hell. Like,
yeah.
And they take so much care like into it. Like you watch these videos of them breaking down moves and how each player reacts to them based on their size and based on it is an insane undertaking. So yeah,
and every character they add, they've got to give Kirby the variance,
Yep. I've seen the Kirby with the Sora hair. It's very cute.
Great.
Very cute. So yeah, that was huge for this week, and mostly curious to see where Smash goes from here. I don't think we'll see anything on it for a long time though.
No, I also don't think so. GTA Trilogy remaster has finally been confirmed. I know this has been rumored for 45 years now. It's finally been revealed officially by Rockstar. So yeah, if you want to play, all you have to do is follow the damn Train CJ mission in HD. You can now do that because San Andreas is part of this pack along with GTA 3 and GTA Vice City.
I just want to see CJ's ridiculous takeout order again in high definition.
I'm quite curious to see how this is perceived because I'm there. I played all three of these games in their heyday. GTA 3 was legitimately mind-blowing in that it was a 3D, oh my God, I can, get a car and drive wherever the hell I want. It was really, really something different. Like I distinctly remember playing it for the first time all those years ago. But let me tell you, by modern day standards, these games are going to feel very empty. So I honestly think, I stand to be correct. So like maybe San Andreas will hold up. I don't know, because that had some depth, in funny ways. Like you could go hit the gym and do all sorts of things. But GTA 3 and Vice City, I think, I don't know if they'll hold up. They're going to feel very empty, I think.
So part of this announcement, Rockstar said, the games will feature across-the-board upgrades, including graphical improvements and modern gameplay enhancements for all three titles, while still maintaining the classic look and feel of the originals. So that, to me, means that it will scale. Like the stuff will look good when put in 4K. It won't just look like fucking stretched and blown out. And maybe the controls may have been remapped to like conform to modern sensibilities, but the actual gameplay hasn't been tweaked. This isn't a remake for all intents and purposes. So yeah, interesting. They're also taking off, all three of these games are going to be delisted from stores from next week, actually. So if you want the originals, you're going to have to buy them now, or just be okay with the new editions. So yeah.
You know what I really
apparently,
want?
if if these remasters perform well, Rockstar might consider remastering the original Red Dead Redemption. I would be interested
You're
in
going to
that.
say Rockstar will consider remastering GTA 5.
Oh God, no, they're already doing that. It even got delayed for PS5 and Xbox Series
I
X.
can't
So,
believe it.
yeah.
Did you ever
Good
play
Lord.
GTA Chinatown Wars? Was it Chinatown
That was the one
Wars
on
DS?
DS. No, I didn't. Apparently, it was
That
good
was
though.
really good. I'd love to see that ported or something to a Switch, for example. It was a lot of fun. Like that is a
Because do you think it can
highly
function
underrated.
without the touch screen?
I mean, well, on the Switch it'd have the touchscreen. So I mean, there are ways around it, right? Like, instead of having the person touch the screen, you could maybe make them mimic something with an analog or whatever. Because,
Okay.
for example, if you were to steal a car in that game, it is you having to touch, 4 screws to take off the panel. I mean, you could arguably replicate that, or just put a button prompt, whatever. So I don't know. In other news, Twitch had a massive leak this week.
Yeah, Twitch had a week. Yeah.
To the point where the like everything was leaked, from the source code to payment numbers to user information and more. Let me tell you, it was a real pain for me specifically, and I mean, imagine every other Twitch streamer, because when a thing of this nature happens, you got to reset your passwords, which means I had to log in to my Twitch account on many different platforms, from my streaming software to my actual browser to the bot I use for text to speech. I had to log in like 5 times. Like, damn it. What a pain. But yeah, this is quite something.
It's bad. It's the extent of this leak. It's not just like a small data breach. It was like huge. There were
everything. Just about.
Software security experts that were saying the fallout to this is still to be felt. So an anonymous hacker posted a 125 gigabyte link to 4chan filled with user information, payout amounts, source code, proprietary services, and more. Twitch later confirmed that a breach had taken place, but that they were still working to understand the extent of it. So yeah, I mean, the thing that I saw a lot of people focusing on, which made fuck all sense to me, was like top 100 streamer payouts. Like, couldn't you have at least guessed very close to that already?
That's like, something I also don't like. I think the fact that people see the raw numbers with their own eyes was, maybe they just never put 2 and 2 together. But
yeah,
I think to this day, there are sites that exist where you can go and see, who's got the most subscribers on Twitch, for example. And if you know how Twitch works with payouts, you could very easily calculate an estimate at the very least of like, oh yeah, this person's earning tens of thousands of dollars per month.
Yeah, I mean, you just take subs times whatever the sub amount is, and you've got a pretty decent estimate. I'm also really confused at like the anger towards like, how dare these streamers get paid $10 million or whatever? Like, there's a job. And if they are attracting X number of viewers, then...
And also, I don't know why people are angry with the streamers. Like, and also keep in mind, those are like, that is indicative of like the 0.001%.
It's very small.
Not every streamer is making that much money. Like,
which is, kind of bad, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of streamers, I mean, I know, for example, South Africa, there are some full-time streamers who probably make enough to cover rent and live, but like, that's it. And even that is a stretch of like, they're just making enough. Twitch takes a huge cut. So I know streamers have always been angry with Twitch, most streamers anyway, because so the way it works, for every subscription, for every subscriber, like a subscription is $5, right? Twitch takes half, the streamer gets half. Partners get a slightly bigger cut. It's like 60-40 or 70-30. But for example, if that top streamer is earning $100,000 a month, Twitch is earning $30,000 to $40,000 off that one streamer. So it's like they are, and like in Twitch's defense, they're a company that need to make money, but it feels like there are barriers to, actually making a living off Twitch because they take such a huge cut. So I don't know. I'm with you. People acting shocked, like, wow, I can't believe these people making so much money. I'm like, where have you been? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
I think you've just never taken the time to actually look at it, but that's been pretty, obvious.
Yeah.
So,
I think the thing that was interesting to me, not so much that I didn't assume as much, but to see it kind of confirmed, is that in that top list, there were no streamers of color, and there was only, I think, one woman. So
no, I think in the top 10 or the I think the top 100 there were only 3.
Yeah.
Which
all this fucking furor and like all these big deals being made of women streaming and maybe not streaming games and streaming content that some would say is against Twitch's terms of service or not appropriate for children. Like, they aren't even in the top 100.
Yeah. I mean, that's
the biggest earners. They are not ruining Twitch.
And
they are literally trying to find a niche for themselves.
Exactly. And there's always, for years, there's always been discourse that, it's easier to make it big on Twitch if you're a female streamer. And it's like, well, the top 100 clearly doesn't show that. I mean, I'd love to actually see, I'm sure people have done it, but what about the top 1,000 or top 10,000? Like, what is the ratio? I would put money that it's probably still very male dominated.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Then is like, you have
but
no
there's
argument.
always the push on, like, women are ruining Twitch because they are streaming with low-cut tops or something.
No, but that's exactly what I'm saying, is that there's all this discourse of, like, no, it's not fair and X, Y, Z, but, like, the numbers don't support your argument, sorry to say. So anyways, Twitch leak, big news. I don't know how this, like you said, experts and software peeps have said it's going to have long-term ramifications. I don't know what the future of Twitch is looking like on that front. Like, are we going to see more leaks, more hacks? I don't know. All I know is that Twitch has had some interesting things happen to them this year, and it's interesting.
It was quite funny that it happened the day after the Facebook leak.
The whole Facebook, Instagram going down, and WhatsApp. The world stood quiet for 8 hours while
no one could send memes on WhatsApp. Yeah. Let's fly through these last 3. FIFA
could maybe not be FIFA.
Yeah, FIFA could not be FIFA. Maybe, I don't know. EA Sports considering a name change. A top executive at EA says the company could end the licensing partnership that dates back to 1993. I assume this all comes down to FIFA probably wanting more money.
Yeah, I was also thinking that I imagine that they pay a hefty sum every year. Like, let's suck, even if it is $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, whatever the ludicrous amount could or could not be. It probably is EA just going, we don't need to spend that. It's like, you could literally just, I really think you could rebrand and, you lose the brand affinity. FIFA is a brand. But if you're a FIFA fan, you're not going to give a shit what it's called. You're going to know, it's the EA football game. And Konami's free-to-play variant isn't really, really great right now. So
it's, that is a whole other story.
So I'm going to buy EA football, whatever they decide to call it, if they do decide to drop the FIFA name.
So the quote was from EA Sports General Manager and top executive Cam Webber, said in a note to players on Thursday, the label is exploring the idea of renaming our global EA Sports football games. This means we're reviewing our naming rights agreement with FIFA, which is separate from our other official partnerships and licenses across the football world. So what this is important to note is that the name FIFA and the licenses to players and tournaments are different. So the game could still have licenses to player likeness, names, team names, stadiums, blah, 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 but just not be called FIFA, which is a separate licensing deal. So I don't know. It could be that FIFA wants an annual game, and EA is now pushing towards a more service-like platform, which to me makes a lot more sense.
It makes the most sense. So
we'll see. I mean, I honestly don't think that this would change much in terms of, especially now that PES seems to be a complete shit show.
Rip.
So, yeah, cool. Football.
In your weekly Blizzard / Activision news piece, which we've quite honestly had for the last, I mean, when did the lawsuit
fucking
happen?
months now, it feels like.
Every week there's something, and this doesn't necessarily link to the lawsuit, but you have to wonder what's going on, that people are leaving Blizzard. So, well, I don't know. Did someone actually leave for Diablo 4 to have a new game director, or somebody just appointed?
Someone left a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I think it's mentioned in this piece. Not sure.
Well, what we can say is that Joe Shelley is the new game director, and he has worked on I just had him he's worked on,
he's a senior
World
game
of
designer on
Warcraft and
Diablo 3.
Yeah. So, and he's been at Blizzard since 2005. So, I mean, this is somebody who's got 16 years of experience. So, yeah, good luck to him. I think
also someone who's been at Blizzard during all the time that this garbage was going on. So,
I would not want to be this person for the simple reason that I think Diablo 4 has a lot of high hopes and expectations on it. And you and I have spoken at length now about, do they go back to Diablo 2, or do they keep the Diablo 3 aesthetic, or do they do a middle ground? And I think whatever he does is going to be very happy fans and very angry fans. So good luck to this dude.
I think it's important to note that in this announcement, they didn't give a hint at a release date, but Shelley did say, quote, the game has a ways to go before it's ready for launch. I doubt this game is out next year.
It's far away.
Yeah. And I genuinely think they announced this game just because people had such a visceral, negative reaction to the mobile one. They're like, fuck, we have to show people we're still...
But the mobile one's not even out yet.
Nope.
Either. What's quite amazing, though... Yeah, sorry, go for it.
No, carry on.
I was going to say that you talking about Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 last week made me realize that Diablo 3 is now 10 years old. More? Which is crazy, because when Diablo 3 was first revealed, it was the same thing of, it's 10 years after Diablo. And I was like, damn, I can't believe they waited this long between games.
It's going to be more now. It's, which is, like I told you the other day, I booted up Diablo 3 again. And I had to remind myself that the game came out in 2012, because boy, those character models look like shit.
Really?
Now. Yeah.
I need to dive back into Diablo 3. It's a good time.
There's another thing we should mention, that state of California is now trying to prevent Blizzard from destroying even more evidence of sexual harassment allegations, which is a real fucking top move from the company, considering they said they would change. So yeah, that is interesting.
Well, we're not ending on that news piece this week for change. We're ending on some different news, in that ADOS Montreal and ADOS Sherbrooke are shifting to a 4-day work week, which... So, I mean, if you don't know...
Where the hell is ADOS Sherbrooke?
I have no idea.
I have to look that up. You carry on.
If you don't know, I mean, I think even given COVID, I mean, in the face of COVID, there has been talk of some companies abroad, and I don't know about any locally, but companies, trialing 4-day work weeks and then actually adopting them. So, that makes sense, right? Because, who doesn't want a 4-day work week? You work... smarter, not harder. But to see this implemented at a gaming studio is quite something, because, gaming studios are synonymous with crunch and hard hours and all other bad work practices. This studio is going to a 4-day week, and it's not a thing of, we're working 4 days a week, but more hours per day. They are literally slashing like a 40-hour work week to a 32-hour work week. without cutting pay or anything, which is it's quite something. And I mean, in my head, I'm like, well, where do you make up those 8 hours? And there was a quote in this, I think this is a press release from the company saying like, one of the heads basically saying like, well, instead of having like an hour-long meeting, we are going to have a 30-minute long meeting. Maybe there's more of a push of getting, being more efficient with the time you have.
Yeah.
So yeah,
just looking at spaces where you can collect back time and where you're just wasting it. And then giving that back to the employee, not being like, we can reduce these meetings, which means we can get more work done or whatever. I'm all for this. I like you, I keep seeing it being trialed in a bunch of different countries, and I'm totally for this idea. So to see it implemented at a AAA studio is pretty cool.
It's quite something, yeah.
Yeah. So Sherbrooke is in Canada, in Quebec.
Okay.
So
yeah. It'd be interesting to see what their next set of games look like, and what is the will it be, for example, it's a 10 out of 10 game, just further proof that the 4-day work week works, or damn, this game isn't great, they should have stuck to a 5-day work week. I hope it's the former, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think that's news. It's all the news this week.
That is news. So should we move over then?
News. What news do you have? Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Game Over Greggy had their baby.
Oh yes, that's right. Greg Miller.
That's so funny. First thing this morning, Lent is like, they had their baby.
And you're like, who?
It's like, who? So yeah, good on them.
That's cool. Congrats to them.
Yeah.
That's rad.
Now that is gaming news.
That is gaming news now. Should we move on to questions then?
Yes.
If you want to send us questions, you can email us, checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on all our social platforms at Checkpoint Chat, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on pretty much everywhere. So
all of the places.
Where do we have questions this week?
So we have a question from Cello Zede on Instagram who says, who wins the international? Because that's
I totally forgot it had even started.
So yeah, the group stages are happening right now, but I think
it's not
the main event
yet.
will be, if you're listening, this week. So who's going to win?
OG?
Definitely Team Navi. I think Dandy's going to have his year this year again,
Fuck's sake. I was reading the other day that the winning team gets $19 million.
Well, yeah, the prize pool is
40 million.
40 million. Well, this should have actually been in news. It's not actual news, but did you see that video I sent earlier this week of the hotel that some teams are staying at?
Yeah, it's bad.
If you consider that, the prize pool is 40 million. Okay, that's a Valve fund, small portion of that, but majority of that is funded by the sale of compendiums, which cost $10 a pop, and put 25% forward to the prize pool. So that prize pool, $40 million, is for the players, but Valve themselves have probably made $120 million just off a digital battle pass. Like any other game, you get in-game cosmetics, a whole lot of bonuses, whatever. But there was footage going around this week from some very disgruntled teams who have been the international itself has had some drama. I think it was meant to be in Sweden initially, but given COVID, they had to find a different. I think Sweden were like, nah, we can't do this.
No. So what happened was Sweden didn't classify the international as a big sporting event.
Yeah.
So they weren't allowed to.
They weren't allowed to. Yeah. So they had to obviously scramble, find a different venue in country. So I think it's in Romania, if I'm not mistaken. But the hotel that the players are staying in, we're talking like almost dorm room size, or college frat room size, with 5 players with their computers.
Fucking appalling. Like
and you just think like, how does Valve with all this money not put each player or each team in like, a penthouse or like a proper room, or I don't know, like how do you not
rent? But that's
rent?
the thing, like the prize pool's like 40 $40 million. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just what the prize pool is. That's a small percentage of what Valve
made,
earned, So, boy, yeah, I think this is just a mess from one point to the next. It's just really, really bad. And
it's in these conditions, who wins? You're saying OG?
I think so. I think OG are, they won what, the last three?
The last two,
two, yeah. They were the first ones to successfully defend it, if I'm not mistaken. So,
I mean, I'd love it just for the story value of like team defense, title.
And I like the players. I think they're just cool dudes.
Yeah.
So
the meme game is strong from a lot of the Dota teams. Team Secret's also still kicking around, and
I wouldn't. Okay.
Yep, I wouldn't be sad if they. I mean, I don't know how good they are. It's been a long time since I've actually, even looked at professional Dota. But I wouldn't be sad if they did something. So yeah, let's see. Next question. We have a question from @JaredBrah, who asks, Brah. If you could go back in time to be there for the launch of any game or games or event, what would it be, or which would it be?
If I could go back
to the launch of any game or games or an event, what would it be? So I saw this question this morning, and my knee-jerk reaction is there's this great moment that you and I both read in the book we've spoken about many times, Console Wars, where Console Wars is the story of Sega versus Nintendo, in the 80s and 90s. But towards the end of the book, you start seeing, little tales of PlayStation making moves to enter the console space. And Sega were, I guess, in the back foot already going into, I think it's the 32-bit gen. I don't know if it's the third or fourth gen of consoles, but a lot of their success would be determined by Sony's approach and price of the PlayStation 1. So there's this great clip, you can Google it, like literally look up on YouTube, Sony announces the price of the PlayStation 1. It's one of the early E3s, it's a small conference room with a whole lot of journalists, and I can't remember the names, but somebody's like, yeah, we're going to have so-and-so come do a presentation on the PlayStation 1. And this dude walks on stage and he just says the price and he walks off.
Yeah.
And everyone
what did he say? $299.
He's like, he just walks out. He's like, $299, and he walks off.
Yeah, and that's it. What's funny is that he takes up like tons of papers as if he's going to give this like in-depth presentation. It's a real,
but that is like
a funny moment.
It's like a proper meme moment from yesteryear, and just the reaction of people was just hilarious because it's like such a cheeky thing.
It's so cheeky for, especially during that time, like E3 was all corporates. There was no fans there or anything like that. So there was no reason to be that like cheeky for an audience that obviously wasn't there.
I mean, and this is the PlayStation 1. Like the PlayStation 1 could have been garbage for all you know, but obviously that's not the case. But just to go up and be like, hey, PlayStation 1, $299, and then walk off is just, I'd love to have been in that room to witness that.
It's the most ballsy fucking thing. Like, yeah, it's really, really cool. I would have loved to have been there. I think if I had to go back to a launch, I would have loved to have been in like New York or something during the like PS2 original launch, because I feel like that was like a huge fucking deal.
That was a movement, yeah.
Yeah, so to kind of like be involved in that or see that firsthand would have been like super, super cool.
If I could relive,
I would have loved.
If I could relive any moments from something I've done before, gaming wise, that the announcement of God of War will forever be a highlight of my time as a gaming journalist. Just be like actually getting to be in that audience when it was announced. And we were with good pals Garth and David, but I like remember Garth just going like, And just the audience lost their shit. It was amazing. Like, I love it.
I recently watched the making of God of War. It's up on YouTube. It's like a 2-hour documentary. It's very good.
It's very good, yeah.
But they kind of go through that reveal,
and to know what happened behind the scenes.
Yeah, to know what happened behind the scenes, but then also just to hear the crowd pop again. Like I can vividly remember that noise in my head. We were somewhere near the back of the Shrine Auditorium.
To the right,
like you said, Yumi and Garth. Was David there with us? I don't think he actually made it to the event.
No, not David. Dave.
Dave. You're right. Yeah. And just the noise, because like the trailer started and there was no indication that it was God of War, because that's how the show opened.
Yeah.
And just as soon as Kratos appeared on screen, the fucking roar from that crowd was unbelievable. Like, it gives me like goosebumps thinking about it again. You're right. That was a special place to be at that moment. So yeah, I'd love to experience something like that again, you know.
So yeah, I think that's it. That's all I have to say on that. I don't know if you have any other things.
No, I think like I would love to to have been at like some of the big launches of the big consoles, but other than that, I can't really imagine any others that I'd like to be at. I think older, gaming events nowadays have kind of like changed, because like we don't gather as much for big launches and stuff like that. And nowadays it feels like really just gross. Like people are just camping out to get shit. So, but yeah, I think being back then would have been cool.
Yeah, cool. That's it.
If you want to send us questions, you can also email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on all our social channels, Checkpoint Chat on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, if they're not all done,
places,
so stuff like that. But yeah, this has been episode 164 Checkpoint Chat. If you've reached this far, thank you so much for listening. Next week will be a sort of, I don't know if we're going to do 2 episodes, but next week we definitely will have a sort of deep dive and special into the Nintendo Switch OLED. So please look out for that, and probably have a lot more on Metroid Dread to talk about. So very excited to get involved in those. And as always, if you've listened and you've supported us, we thank you very much.
We love you.
You're the best, shorty. And we hope you have another fantastic week.
We'll see you soon.
We shall see you soon.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.